Hello, everyone. Glad to see you back at Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a warm welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. So, as many of you know, I sometimes receive questions directly from you guys. And so at this point, I got a lot of emails this past week. And so I have a few lined up that I would like to answer. One of the questions that came through over the past few days was to maybe learn a little bit more about the lessons that you are learning right now. So I promised I would do a reading on that. And, this is not the first time that we've looked into your lessons. But with the audience growing and building in the collective, and with the way that question just sort of rang through from my email the other day, I knew that this was a good time to maybe revisit it. That's something that we need to take a look at. So, as you guys know, it's a general reading, it's for all signs. The readings are also timeless. So you'll be drawn to readings when it's the right time for you to have them. If this one resonates, I would ask you to like, share, subscribe, maybe even check into a couple other recent videos too if it feels like a good fit. Okay, so the lesson that you're learning, we're looking at the lesson that you're learning. And I want to jump in at first here by asking for kind of the big idea. We want to know what is the big idea for this reading, considering the lesson that you're learning. And it could be more than one lesson. Everyone is going to have a little bit different of a picture. So that's the other amazing thing with this collective. We've seen this sort of developing, and we see these general concepts around things like self worth. We're just going to take the top card here. So, the main idea here is the Six of Coins in reverse. And so, if you take a closer look at this card, this is what the Six of Coins is upright, and there's a give and take that happens here. This card deals with give and take and the equal distribution of energy back and forth in a relationship. And so we'll take a closer look at this one when we clarify. But at this point, it would suggest something that is out of balance. And so this is consistent with what we've seen with a lot of the readings so far. I'm just going to sum it up. A lot of the folks that are here watching these readings found themselves in a situation that was maybe not completely equal give and take on both sides. Things ended or they changed. In a lot of cases, folks walked away, and what happened was, we had this runner chaser dynamic that emerged. And it was a little bit different this time because the chaser didn't do so much chasing. Maybe both folks have a hard time figuring out how to move on. But there are lessons here. And one of the lessons has been around not giving when you aren't also receiving. So for this to come out in what's the main idea doesn't really surprise me. It seems like something that's been coming up in our readings, but we'll clarify here in a little bit. And so I'm reading for you from the Uncommon Tarot, and then I'm going to clarify from the Light Seers Tarot. Just felt like putting those two together today. So now we're going to look at right here, we're going to kind of look at the overarching energy or the weather for the reading. I like to call it the weather sometimes. And it's just kind of like the lens, is that single card, that you look at it through. All right. So, Knight of Coins. Knight of Coins is a slow, steady, advancing sort of energy. So, that's the lens that we're looking at things through. So, the thing to remember here in the background of all this is a slow, steady progression. In one way, you could really pan out and say you're on a path that allows you to learn lots and lots of lessons. This is the main idea of one lesson along the way, but just remember it's a bigger path. It could also be that you zoom in. Hey, this lesson about give and take is actually a pretty broad lesson for you. So take it slowly and make sure that you take it all in. And those things could both be true. So let's get a card to take a look at. This is where I like to ask for kind of the most important message. What is sticking out the most here? As we look at this, and we know that this is about lessons, we know that it's a slow and steady sort of experience, more of a marathon than a sprint. That's multiple cards. I will not take those. If I have just one fallout, I'll turn it over. Um, if it comes out, there we go. Here we have one. It's the nine of coins. Okay, the thing that sticks out the most is the nine of coins energy. And so this is, and I'll see if I can show this to you a little bit more. This is that nine of coins energy that is independent. For some people, it's a single energy. It's coming into yourself, learning how to be within yourself. So you don't have to be single to be able to come into yourself. Plenty of people get married early and do it later in life, come into themselves, but while they're doing it, they have these tumultuous experiences. And you could be one of those. I mean, there's all sorts of opportunities here with that. But the central idea that sticks out the most here is that this is this is somebody that kind of already has it together for the most part, but something has happened here to disrupt the balance, and you've got this lack of give and take. It's a slow and steady progression, but like this card suggests to me that a slow and steady progression does not cause this person to not be able to do it. Like you can still do it. In some cases, maybe we'll see the temperance card come out with that, but in some cases, we need to be able to be more patient. We need to increase our temperance and be able to just become more calm rather than feeling the need to move forward. But in some cases that we're saying, no, I'm okay with this. I know it's going to move slowly, but this lesson is what else do I need to know about this lesson? And so that's kind of what I want to ask here. It's a what else do you need to know about this lesson? It's just sort of digging a little bit deeper into what we already see here. If we dig in a little bit deeper, what else is it that you need to know about this lesson, besides the fact that it's part of a slow and steady progression and that the lesson itself is a slow and steady progression? Um, Also, that you are pretty together even as you approach it. So, here is, digging a little bit deeper. What's at the heart of this? What's below the surface? There is something that is that's kind of getting in the way for you. It's getting in the way of completion, or okay, in the traditional tarot, this is the judgment card, okay, this awakening card. And so the judgment card would lead to that awakening that would be the other end of that would be the world card. And I forget what it is in this tarot. It may also be called the world. But this awakening has to happen on the way there. If it is unable to happen, if something does not pass judgment, then you end up kind of going back through this cycle. And so, what's sticking out the most to me, I was trying to figure out how to get to this. What's sticking out the most here with this card is that cycle, the fact that it has, and this is like a celebration of you recognizing that this cycle that this does not pass judgment, because maybe this has happened before and you've gone back to it's the fool's journey and you go back to the beginning and you'd have to do it again and everything, but you are capable um, of making a change here. So if this is a cycle that does not pass judgment for you and you want to make a change to it, it seems like you've got it by the tail right now. So here in that lesson, that's something significant. Let's take a look at the hidden energies right here. And so this would be, it's one of those things that I always like to ask. Those hidden energies, what would you maybe be able to see if you were from a different, looking at it from a different perspective, but you're looking at it from where you stand right now. So what's missing? Oh, that's more than one card. Let's see. Hidden energies. This is nice because it gives us a little bit more perspective. Sometimes it gives us a chance to look at things from somebody else's view. And in this case, Queen of Cups. Okay, so something is getting in the way of the flow of emotion. That's basically what I'm getting here. So the Queen of Cups in the upright is free flowing love. It is just unconditional love that flows with no end. When it is in the reverse, it can be a couple of things. It can sometimes be codependency. Some of you may be getting some experiences of that, especially if you know yourself to have codependent tendencies. This cycle over here may have had you attracting somebody who really kind of engages you in that, and that, maybe they have their own side of it as well. So there is that. But the other piece that I'm seeing is that with this being the true flow of emotion and just the ongoing flow, this feels like staunching that flow. So the flow of emotion is staunched here, not just for any person you may be dealing with, but also in your case, somewhere in you. So that's something to be looking for. We're going to see more when we clarify. This one is super interesting, and I'm setting this down like I'm going to go clarify, but we're still going to look here. And so we're going to see this is kind of the energy of what you're pointing to. And it's not the how do things end up. It's not the future per se. Nobody can truly predict the future. It's you're going to have free will, but you're also going to have energies pointing you a certain way. So let's see where the energy is pointing you just based on with this lesson kind of everything else that you've seen here. Um how does that look? Energy is pointing you what way? There we go. We had something turn over. We'll just take the top one. Wow. All right. So, okay, let me set this down and I want to talk about this just a little bit. So, remember here where I said that if something does not pass judgment, then you don't. This is the judgment card. The next thing would be the world card. That's the end of the tarot. And so, if it doesn't pass judgment, doesn't go to the world, it goes to back to the fool's journey, the beginning of the fool's journey. And so in that's in many cards, in many decks, that's the fool card. In this one, it's the wanderer card. It's still numbered 0 in the tarot, and it's that leap of faith. It's that jump into something new, and that's the energy that you're kind of moving toward right now, with this lesson. So this is all really interesting because you've got basically a lesson about we knew there was self worth in there, but we also know that with you not chasing, like with that runner chaser dynamic, instead of chasing, you're finding other outlets for your energy. Um, that tells me that some of that self worth work is already done so that when you identify this as being part of that cycle and maybe something that you did not want to repeat, um, you stopped it. You stopped doing it. And so over here, we have just this lesson about okay, but the give and take still has to be equal. We know it's a slow lesson in the scope of slow lessons, but we also know you have some excellent independent energy and just some excellent base energy to start with. But you're either having your codependent, well, I wouldn't say either or. You are having your codependency chain rattled if that is relevant for you, but also the flow of emotions has been staunched or stopped for one or both of you. But in this case, we're just looking at you. So this is somewhere in your energy, things are blocked or stopped, but you've got a big change in your future. That jumping off a cliff presents an opportunity for change. And so is it a let's look a little bit more closely. So I'm curious to clarify this. Again, we're clarifying with the light seers, and we're going to start with that 6 of coins in the reverse up there in the corner. So clarifying, okay, so we have the 10 of wands. This is a burden. And this is kind of oh, and the 10 of cups. You are full of tens. Okay, so tens are the ending. They're the end. And so also this is cups, so it's around emotion. This is wands, so it's around passion, drive. That's that impetus to move forward. But here at the 10 of wands, you are burdened down, and this is where you realize this is This is kind of that too good to be true energy, and this is that reconciliation where you say, "Okay, but really it's not too good to be true. This isn't equal give and take. This isn't working for me." And that is kind of that breaking point. If we drew another card, it would probably be the Tower. Okay, so let's look at this Knight of Coins here. And remember, this is kind of that slow and steady energy. So the Knight of Coins, I'm fond of saying, may be the slowest knight in the deck, but it is also the most reliable one, the steadiest one. So let's see what else. Oop, I'm dropping them. Let's see what lands face up. We know we got that. Okay, they all bounced on the way down. Nothing landed face up. Let's get one more. So we've got the Justice card. And let's see what else. It's always interesting to see how the cards want to come out. Sometimes you just get a single one. Sometimes they come out and there's a lot more. So we also have the Ace of Cups. Okay, so this is, let's look at these together. We have the Knight of Coins, which is that slow and steady energy, the Justice card, which is a card about balance and really wanting to get things right. The Ace of Cups is about opening that flow of emotion, and it's about that lesson. Very specifically, what comes to me is that it's about the lesson of opening your heart to give and receive love, which, of course, relates back to this even back and forth of energy, and it's about the quest, the very slow and steady quest to make things right with regard to the flow of energy. So it's really just kind of reiterating what we've seen throughout here. That's what we're focusing on. Yes, it's slow. It's also like a very slow bead along a very slow string of beads. The whole thing is lesson after lesson can become very tiring. It can become very intense, but it's also super. It's useful. It's what you do for growth. So let's take a look at this Nine of Coins. Um, okay, we have the Knight of Wands in reverse, though. Okay, so the Knight of Wands is kind of a passionate move towards something, and this is maybe learning not to jump passionately. So you learned to jump forward towards something and to to break through maybe some barriers that you were feeling. And that's part of how you know how present you are and in your own independence. So this was a huge corner that you turned with this person because you discovered, hey, I am capable of saying exactly what I mean, putting my feelings out there, that sort of thing. But there's also this feeling that as a result of this, your strength starts to falter, and you start to wonder if maybe you've made the right decision in all this. And the message that comes is just like it's like a big hug saying, your strength is going to come back. Please don't think that because of all of this pain that you shouldn't still come forward and give and receive love. Not everyone is going to treat you like this, but you're going to want to become better with the discernment about it, and this is that card where we learn a little bit more about that discernment, because that's the concept that came out when I saw the card. And remember, this is something not passing judgment. So discernment is relevant, because if you discern that something is not going to be in your best interests, maybe it doesn't pass judgment, maybe it doesn't get a chance to even hop into this cycle with you, because every time you learn something, you go back afterwards and you're able to say, if I knew then what I know now, this would be a very different story. So, this is about that. And so, with it comes discernment. You start to learn new things. We have the Six of Swords in the reverse. Let's see what else here. Six of Swords in the reverse. We've got something turned over here. There we go. Oh, the devil. Okay. Let's take a look at that. And I want to look at it with all of the cards together here. All right. So we've got something not passing judgment. We know it's a cycle. We know that is It's creating an issue, and it creates an issue that creates a lot of fear. And I'm having like this visceral response that makes me think of that strength card. There's healing that hasn't happened yet. Okay. So that's obvious. Because otherwise you wouldn't be in a position to have to worry about this. You wouldn't even attract this person that you've now learned, hold on, those are red flags. I need to screen this out. I need to remove myself from this situation. But you know that the healing isn't done because there is something in here that still drives you, still controls you, whether it is like, um, I was having a conversation the other day where someone said, I just need to be loved. I need somebody to be pursuing me and to want me. And I'm like, you know what? That's the sort of energy that I'm talking about. It actually seems kind of innocuous, but it's like this craving sometimes in some folks. And basically, this is what could be happening as a like a symptom of the healing that's not yet completed, and the thing that keeps driving this cycle. And it's driving this cycle to expose this situation where you have the codependent response, but it also causes that staunch of emotion. Let's look into that one now. I can't believe how crystal clear and strongly this is kind of coming out. um I don't think we're going to need an extended on this one. We'll see. So far it's great information, but it's like spirit drops the mic at the end of each one. Okay, so Queen of Cups. Oh, hold on. We're getting this one and this one. I don't know if you guys saw the way that came out, kind of waved at me. All right, so it probably sounds crazy. All right, if you if you look at the Queen of Cups, we've got the Queen of Cups in reverse, which we know means maybe some of that codependent energy, maybe just the staunch of emotional flow. We also have the Knight of Swords, which is it's an action, it's a quick, decisive forward movement, but we also have this Nine of Pentacles in reverse, which is the reverse of this energy over here. Okay, so this is that hidden energy, and um, this is sort of what you're not able to see, and what is crippling you at the knees when you go to try and deal with this situation. So it just takes you out. So you get triggered from whatever it is that's either causing you a codependent response, and of course it's causing that in them too. So it's very much both people having this difficult experience, both of you having something that draws you in and holds you there, both of you not being healed from it. But even if you're not with somebody, you're going to notice those types of issues with give and take in all other aspects. So it'll be family relationships. Any of us who are seeing that could be seeing it in the family relationships. Things are moving very slowly with learning the lesson, but they are moving. Like, you've decided that this is a pattern, you've identified it, and what you need to look for is when you feel that need to jump and all of a sudden you're off balance, but you're jumping anyway. Like, that's the feeling that I want to call out here. That's what you could perceive as the flag in yourself, which I guess that's important because it's like you move quickly in a direction, but you almost aren't behind it. You almost think it's the wrong thing to do, like it's not supported by your gut, which would be the opposite, I think, of what happens with this wanderer energy here. So let's get a little bit of an idea of what's happening with that. The wanderer, which is like the fool in the traditional deck. And we want to get a couple of clarifiers. So we've got the Emperor in reverse, just taking that top card. And let's see what else we get. So there's a realization that that you can't control something, a realization that, you're holding off on something somewhere. Doesn't have to be relationship oriented. You're holding off on going back to school. You're holding off on having kids. You're holding off on, making a change in your household. You're holding off on something within a personal relationship because you want there to be more control. There's your tower. Ooh, ooh, okay. So this is like your current energy. And I said, I just think the next thing would come out as a tower. This is the energy you're heading toward. There's the tower. All right. Well, let's break that down. Okay, so if we look at this, you've got what I asked was, what is the energy favorable for as you're moving forward? And we saw the Fool energy come out or the Wanderer energy come out. It's jumping out into a new direction. It's not necessarily a new relationship. Could be you decide to jump into school. You decide to, because this is, remember, you've decided you can't control something here. And you've also then got this impetus lighting a fire under you saying, hey, something isn't right or something hasn't been right and you've dealt with it. And now, as a corollary to that, you got to deal with this. Someplace where you have maybe lacked control in the past. But there's something happens to cause you to jump, which is interesting because you've already been sort of learning this lesson. So I don't know if it's with the same person or situation or not, but this has prepared you partially for it, and you are clearly, slowly but surely, but very clearly, very surely moving in the direction to make things right and to open up this flow of emotion and be able to give and receive love, which we know down here sometimes is threatened. And we know from over here, um, you've identified the cycle. You know there's something to solve here around this, and that we know because of the overall picture that maybe you're well suited to do it, but it's hitting you like in this really particular way. One of the things I keep seeing over and over is, this is not my normal response to this. I've had people leave me before. This was not my response. This feels different, and it's because it's hitting you on a whole different level. So you're not used to seeing that response because you're not used to being taken out at the knees by something that, maybe the cycle has repeated itself, but maybe it's like something that every time it comes past you, it comes dangerously close to knocking you down, but this one hits you like dead center. Um, I guess my next question is, so what is your advice? What would you be advised to do in your, from where you stand currently? Because we're not going to go to an extended for this one. I don't feel like this is the reading where we need to go to an extended, but I would want to see, maybe this is the equivalent of that bridge question that we ask. What would get you from the place that you are right now to the place that you need to be? How do you get like your first step on that bridge? What does that advice look like? And this is the Shaman's Dream Oracle. It's an interesting one. This deck, it's fascinating because when it's on camera, it always wants to kind of give me a certain set of cards. So I want to see what happens. I'm just curious to see if, and it's not, it's a card, it's a set of cards that has a certain set of characteristics. It's not like one of X number of cards. So, oh, let me not drop them. Let's get your advice. How do you move on from this very moment? What's the most useful thing for you to be doing? And that's always an interesting one. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, we have Lost Compass. Here, I'll show that to you. Okay, so it came out in the reverse. Um, so let's talk a little bit about it. It's the Lost Compass card is about finding that true north. Okay, it's really about, you'll have these guiding principles that will sometimes, when And I've used this metaphor before. I think I've used it sometimes in the YouTube readings, but you run across a situation or a person that maybe doesn't have that equal give and take, but what's significant about them is you usually have it together. They totally take you out at the knees. They make your instruments spin like you're flying over the Bermuda Triangle, okay? And, maybe, like I said, it's a situation, it's a set of circumstances. For a lot of folks, it's another person. And so this lost compass is all about saying, hey, it's time to look at what would happen, what would my true north be if I backed away from this situation, and not to say ignore the impact that it's had on your life. In no way do we want to do that, because look at the lessons that you're learning here. But what would happen if you said, yes, I'm taking all that into consideration, but I'm shrinking it back down to its proper relative size? Where is my true north? And what this coming out upside down, what it's telling us is there's a need to ask that question. So as you're going through, let's get you one more. I feel like I need to get you one more. But as you're going through that lesson, absolutely make sure that you're making your decisions for the right reasons, that you're doing things because of what you want and not because of maybe a connection with an ideal or a situation that is not giving you equal give and take. This could be somebody's job situation too. So we also have gathering around. The power of community has come out. So this this one's interesting. It reminds me of a conversation that I had very recently here about how at the beginning of COVID, these people started kind of working from home a lot more often because they had jobs where you could do the job online, at least to a certain degree. And so um, there, that at first it seemed really strange, but they got used to it. And then as things began to open back up and people had the opportunity to kind of come back together and gather back around, we had folks that said, nope, you know what? I've discovered that I love working in, off by myself. How about we give an option to continue with that? And so what in some of the new studies are coming out around how the power of community actually helps to bolster everyone's spirits, even if you're the sort of person that might usually want to work alone. So it's just a note out there to those folks who like to work alone, whether it's work related or if this is you like to work alone in a spiritual sense. Nothing wrong with that, but also understand the power and the value of community. If you can reach out to a group of people that works where you work or values like-minded people, they can really help bolster you and maybe even help you to establish that North Star if you feel like you've lost it. Because that's another thing that sometimes happens as you're going through this, because there is a big spiritual change happening with all of you. Honestly, it's part of what I feel in this collective. And as you're going through that, sometimes you come out the other end and it's hard to know, like, what is the role that I play in this? So be looking for that. Be looking for that question and be thinking about it when you do gather with people, when you have the opportunity. If somebody says, we'd like you to join us at some such event, give it a try. Give it a try and see if maybe it helps you find direction in a way that you would not previously have guessed. So I'm going to go ahead and close that up there. That got to be pretty intense, but a really awesome reading. So again, if this one resonated with you, please do like, share, subscribe, so that way we can stick together. And if you are so inclined, hopefully this was helpful as you're looking at the lessons that everyone here is learning and how the information can relate to you. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you in another reading.